Hello everybody, thank you for checking out my channel, this Pick a Card channel, and thank you for checking out this video. In fact, this is, as you can tell probably from the title, this is a pick a card for the month of July for 2019. And what I did for this is I meditated with everybody's spirit guides and sat with everybody's energy, and I was pulling the cards that felt most specific for you guys, and whatever felt specifically called to by each pile. So if you're new to Pick a Card, what you want to do is, if you want to look at these piles, and from pile 1 to pile 4, you decide which one is calling you to the most. Not your favorite stone. There's a major difference between your favorite stone and like what is calling to you the most, because not necessarily every single time, for example, if your favorite stone is amethyst, that doesn't necessarily mean every single time there's a pile with amethyst that means that it's meant for you. So I really want to stress to sit down, take a few deep breaths, and meditate on these and see which one's calling to you the most. Once you do pick your pile, so let's say that you picked pile number 3 with the tiny amethyst, you go to the description box below, and I usually have a timestamp down there, so you can just click on that and be taken to your pile, so that way you're not having to watch all throughout the video just to get to pile number 3, so it's more of a convenience sake. So just pause this video for however long that you need to really see which one's calling you the most, and then we'll get started. Alright, for people who chose pile number 1, you guys chose the smoky citrine. Citrine, again, I can't always stress, I can never stress enough of, how much citrine is my favorite stone out of, everything, besides probably lapis. Lapis and citrine are, a very close, number 1 for me. But let's just see what we have here initially. And I'm going to be drawing more cards as we go, whenever I feel like we need to, have more detail on something. And I have the cards to the side, but that doesn't even matter. So let's just start with this. I already have your cards pulled out. I haven't looked at your cards prior, but what I'm getting from pile number 1, people who chose pile number 1, is okay. It's interesting because you have the dog card show up. And with the dog card, it quite literally says, your loyalty and faithfulness is misplaced by serving too many masters. Now, what could this mean? So for the month of July, this could mean kind of reevaluating who you're keeping around in your life. Who are you being a good friend towards, and you feel like they're not being a very good friend towards you, and they're not reciprocating that energy that you're giving out. And something that I learned many times is that because I always would struggle. I would some of my stresses when I was younger is that I'd be upset and hurt by when a friend wasn't being as good of a friend to me as I was to them. And for a while I was sitting there and I was just okay, I don't know if I'm just taking this too seriously, if I take friendships too seriously, or what have you. And it kind of just clicked one day where I was just okay, I'm not gonna feel bad about being a good friend, essentially, while I was thinking about it. And if you bring up, let's just use the scenario with, if you text a friend and they just never text you back, you try to make plans with them, they just never get back to you, and it's always just kind of just ghosting you until they're in the mood for it, and that bothers you. What this card is suggesting is for you to just sit down and think about it. Let people's actions speak for them. Why would you listen to somebody? You think about it in this way. If someone says they care about you, but their actions are saying the complete opposite, actually. So let's say they care about you, they would protect you, and then they're actually the ones that are bullying you after, sending you hate messages after. That's kind of it doesn't make sense. What they're doing and what they're saying doesn't kind of line up. So really you want to then take a step back and be okay, why are you going to listen to someone's words other than their actions? Because if you're going to listen to their words over their actions, then let's just say someone's going inside and be oh, I'm not robbing you, but then it's holding you at gunpoint and taking your money. That's kind of essentially the same thing. So let people's actions speak for them. Don't go around trying to make excuses for them. Don't, because the fact of the matter is, when you're trying to make excuses for these people, you're kind of giving reasons as to why you want to put yourself through this drama. I always find with friendships, I heavily keep on like feeling drawn to talking about friendships. So I feel like for a lot of people, this is talking about friendships. So I find with friendships is that friendships should be effortless. They shouldn't really involve a lot of drama. You shouldn't be sitting there questioning your worth to them. Now, there is a difference because I know even for my own self, like I'll create these narratives in my mind for what is going on. You know, there'll be like some days I'm just like, oh, one of my cover members, they just hate me. They don't want anything to do with me. And then it's just like I can take a step back and be like, no, that's just my mind playing its tricks. But, you know, let's say you text somebody and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I just never got your text. It's just like, no, someone got your text, you know? Like technology, it's 2019. Like texts just don't disappear out of nothing, you know? And you really think about it, it's just like, how often do you see your friends with their phones? How often do you keep your phone around you and around your vicinity, you know? So why it's kind of funny when people use this excuse and people it works with a lot of people. They're just like, oh, I didn't get your text. It's just like, okay, but or I didn't see your text in time. So it's like, okay, but this entire time since I've been hanging out with you, you've been holding your phone and looking at your phone sometimes, you know? So you really want to, again, like this card's really, the dog card is really stressing of like, you don't want to be too loyal to people and like ending up causing more stress, causing more drama in your life in the long run. You take, you know, some people, they're just not that into you, like that movie, that some people are just not that into you, and it has nothing to do with you. Some people just don't click that well together. You know, if it was something that like, if like everyone could just click well with each other, then like world peace would be so easy to accomplish just because everyone could vibe with each other. But that's just not reality. You know, personalities mesh differently, people act differently around different people. It has nothing to do with you. Your ultimate goal, I would say, for the month of July is to really just filter through those people, filter who you're giving your loyalty to. Then like once you filter through that, then you'll like live like throughout the month, you'll find you're having a lot less problems. But right now, you know, with this card, we'll take this card as well: release the dark wound and let love live. The dark wound for this situation, I feel like, and this doesn't necessarily have to just be talking about friendships. This could be talking about business partners. This could be talking about relationships. With this card pairing with the dog, it's kind of like it's asking you to like kind of look within, do some shadow work, kind of let go of people that are no longer serving you. You know, if you have this one friend that you've known for so long, but they kind of just treat you like crap, they don't really pay you any mind, kind of release that. Don't constantly make excuses and constantly put yourself in this loop of constantly being hurt and constantly thinking about these situations and putting yourself in these situations. Let go of that. And then when you let go of these people, by when you evaluate who you're giving your loyalty to, you don't want to respond with hate by letting go of them. That's why it's important to understand that not everyone's just going to click and has nothing to do with you. I find when you're not internalizing everything, it's a lot easier to have a discussion because you're not taking everything personally. So if you and a friend just happen to distance apart and you guys just aren't, you know, like you just aren't on the same wavelength anymore, just learn to love them for who they are and love them for the experiences that they provided for you. And you'll find like this is just a much easier way to go about living through life in general. But for the month of July, it's really stressing to go about doing these steps because I feel like with some people, there's going to be a little bit of turmoil. Not to really sound ominous, but with this card, we talk about the protection card. This is kind of telling you to protect your heart, to protect your feelings, and just really value yourself and your own mental health and emotional health over anything else, because friends come and go, but when your mental health is like a wreck, the only person that can fix it is you. So you don't want to allow these people that you're giving your loyalty to really have an effect on your mental state and really like cause you more harm than good. So this is really about doing this act of cleansing these people. This is important to protect yourself and to really just don't feel the need to have a bunch of friends around. Don't feel the need to have a specific lover, if they're not working out for you, you just kind of have to learn to let go and let God at that point, really. Um, with the wheel from Archangel Michael, he's talking about it's just time for a positive change. A situation suddenly moves forward. Fortune is on your side. This is good. This is like when Michael comes through. He's a very powerful manifester, and when he's telling you, he's quite literally telling you, it's just like, hey, like it's time to straighten up. It's time to check your loyalties. Check your loyalties. Protect your heart, and then let go of those that are just causing you stress. You shouldn't, when you're having a friendship, that shouldn't involve constantly dealing with drama and constantly going through your mind and just being upset. No person is worth that amount of turmoil just for a little bit of a good time. You can have a good time with anybody. It's like you want to measure how much of a good time that you're having with them, encompassing when you're with and without them, because if it doesn't matter if you're feeling good with them when you're only with them, but when you're without them, if your significant other is just, when they're gone, you just feel like complete crap, and you're just like, oh, why am I even with them, or like, why are they doing this to me? Think about it from their try to put yourself in their point of view. Would you ever, if the situation was reversed, would you ever do what they're doing to you? How do you handle their friendship? And not only, it's important to not only look at their friendship and how you handle your friendship with them, or your relationship with them, or your business deal with them, but you also want to look at other people, how you deal and interact with other people, because it's very easy, and I've been in this, I caught myself doing this as well. It's like, I'll complain about how someone's just not being as good of a friend or not as receptive towards me as I am to them, but then I think about it, and then there's a friend that, like, I don't always pick up my phone and immediately respond to them. I can see their text message, but I just don't have the energy in that moment to deal with them. That doesn't mean that I dislike them, but it's just kind of, some people, you're just like, again, it's kind of like an energy thing. If your energies mesh well together, you're not gonna have that social battery be drained. Like, when you go out for a party or you go out to a social event of some kind, and you just have like a social battery, I always say, and then, like, as the night goes on, or as the party, whatever the event, whatever you're doing goes on, and the more you're interacting with people, that battery starts to, like, lower and lower and lower, until it just gets to the point where you're just like, okay, I need to just go home. So, and that's kind of just what it is. With some people, like, their battery just may not be fully charged. So you want to, when you are going through these people and evaluating who you're being loyal to, you want to really keep yourself in check as well, and be like, because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm such a good friend, why is everyone not treating me just as well? And you're not keeping yourself accountable and realizing yourself of how you're treating people and how you're treating your relationship, or like your past relationships. And I find, even if you're not keeping, like, even if you, let's just say that you treat all your friends amazingly, you treat all your relationships amazingly, use that as reference material and be like, okay, if this is only happening with this person, and I can't fathom, and you yourself cannot fathom doing this to another person, why are you allowing somebody else to do that to you? Think about it in that way. With this card, it says seeing the true you. This card really wanted to come out. When it came out, when I was shuffling these cards, it popped out like several times, and I would put it back because I was just like, I don't know if this is meant for it, but like, the card insisted on being here. So this is really, I would say, I really can heavily relate to people who chose pile number 1 and the energy going on for July for them, because with this, this card kind of sums up with everything else. It's telling you that you need to, in order for you to filter through these friends and to really go through this time of, like, cutting down on those who no longer serve you and are just kind of like draining your energy, lowering your vibration, you want to realize your own worth. Because if you have a low self-worth, then you feel like you're not worthy of being texted. You're not worthy of someone giving the time of day to you. So it's really, like, it's really, when this card is talking about seeing the true you, it's really evaluating, like, putting things in perspective and be like, okay, this is the kind of person I am. Why am I being treated this way? You know, and this isn't necessarily, like, again, like, this isn't the card telling you, be like, okay, find all the ways that you're great and wonderful. Because, again, as I, like, touched on before, like, when you look at other situations and see how you treat your other friendships, this, it kind of keeps you grounded, keeps you in check. It makes you realize, just like, okay, it's not that serious. It's not, you realize that you're kind of internalizing a lot of this drama that's going on in your head of, like, why a friendship's being this way, you know? And just because they're not texting you back all the time, that does not mean you need to get rid of them. It just means you need to realize this, so you're no longer being haunted with those thoughts of, like, why they're not being as receptive towards you. And sometimes it just helps to just communicate honestly. Communicate with what it is that you're going through and what it is that you're feeling. And if they're a real friend, or if they're a real boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, business, like, whatever, they're in your life, and it's important to be able to feel confident in communicating with them. If you are communicating with them and you find that they just make you feel silly, that's, like, they're doing the job for you at that point, baby. Like, they're letting you know that they're not going to be the kind of people that are going to stay with you for long term. Because as a normal friend, you think about it from, again, like, it's, when it comes to, for people in pile one, and this I feel like we're really talking about needing to look at the other side and really trying to see every perspective out there, so you have a better understanding of how to carry on with your relationships, whether they're intimate relationships, intimate relationships, or friendships, or business relationships, and stuff like that. This is really about evaluating, and, like, even this is not a call to action either. Like, don't feel like you have to cleanse everyone of, like, cleanse your space, cleanse your friend group of people. You know, this could really just be about, you know, these thoughts are just constantly haunting you, causing you stress and causing you anxiety. um just putting things in perspective, you realize how good of a life you have. 10 of water, you know, this is kind of confirming it. A contented and rewarding family life. Your emotional and material needs are met. Trustworthy relationships. So this card really, this kind of just confirms it for you guys. It's just like, I'm getting for some people that there is, like, obviously I feel like there is some cleansing that needs to be done for some people, but for the majority, for people who chose pile number one, this is letting you know that you have a good crew. You know, the people that are in your life, they're good people. It's really just about, like, trying to understand from their point of view, and trying to just understand friendship dynamics in general, relationship dynamics in general, marriage dynamics, you know, compare with other people, about it with other people, and just see and realize, because it's like a lot, we go through this life, not in just relationships, but we internalize everything because we're experiencing our own reality. No one else can experience our reality for us, you know, obviously. So you when you're all so focused on your own reality, you kind of not necessarily think the world revolves around you, but you're less understanding of other people, because right now in your reality, it's very black and white. Well, whereas to them, they process energy completely differently. They see different signs entirely. You know, their lives are completely different. They, you know, just their filter that they go through life is completely different than yours. So once you are able to identify their different filters, identify how they go, how their mind works, and are able to communicate with them, because honestly, like, you know, some of the worst times in people's lives are, like, these stories that they make up in their head, and they don't talk about it, and then they just don't talk about it for a long time, and then they just finally blow up. And whether that's just them cutting off their friendship. Okay, I do, like I think I said earlier, that I do feel drawn to shuffle for you guys another card. I'm going to go into my Angelarium deck, actually, and let's just see what other, like, what angel comes through that really would stick out for you guys for the month of July, because I do think it's important to, oh, well, there's our answer. So we have Teferet, Heart, and Beauty. So I love this. I'm going to be putting it up for you guys to, like, look at, and you can pause the screen so you can really observe it, because I always stress, always stress, with this deck in particular, you want to really look at the imagery behind it and really see what resonates with you, analyze it, and see how this relates to you. But right off the bat, with this card, Tiferet, the heart and the beauty, this is letting you know. I feel like this is speaking for you as a person. You know, if you look at this card closely, there's ironically enough, like his chest is completely open. You know, you don't see a heart there in there at all. This is I feel like for some people there's like a little bit of self-hatred. It's a little bit of maybe not self-hatred, but like the lack of self-worth or self-love. And while they do have a very big heart, because they're constantly beating themselves up, they kind of destroy themselves from the inside out. And, you know, as you can look from the outside, like the environment of the card is kind of chaotic, it's kind of hectic. This is very, I feel like, very speaking heavily on the demons that we keep inside ourselves and the stories that we keep inside ourselves, and constantly these battles that we're fighting with mentally. And eventually, if we don't take care of this, that leaves like a open hole in our heart, and where there's a lot of resentment can take place, and really just be the cause of all the chaos around them, really destroying their environment. This could be, you know, because you're feeling this certain type of way with certain people, and how you feel like they're just not being receptive towards you, because you're having all this, like, these inner battles that you're not communicating. You start lashing out, you start pushing people away, you start really being vindictive. So this card is right here. You kind of want to prevent being this. Realize, you know, again, from your other cards, seeing the true you. See the true you, and let love live. You know, just let go of the shadows, let go of this wound, you know. Let go of the wound that's in your heart. Fill that, let that space be filled with your friends and family, you know, because this card's letting you know, you guys are letting you know that you have a very solid foundation in terms of friendships and relationships. Let them be the ones that fill up that hole. And the only way I feel like you can allow this to happen is by trying to understand them more, communicate more. I feel like this is heavily on communicating. You want to really communicate and, like, be open with your feelings, so that you're not going through this war with yourself and tearing yourself apart. So yeah, so I hope this resonates with you guys. If this does, then please let me know in the comments, and let me know what does resonate with you, what part of it resonates with you. I know people, like, especially, like, I will watch pick a cards as well, and I won't comment in the video about what resonates with me, but, like, I genuinely do feel interested. Am interested in hearing about what resonates with you and why, because it's very refreshing because of how I pull cards. It's very refreshing to see the energies that, like, I clicked onto, because sometimes I can pinpoint a comment and be like, I kind of, like, it makes sense for me. So I do genuinely care about y'all's lives, you know. So let me know, comment down below, let me know if you want to have more pick a cards. I plan on doing more pick a cards in the future. Subscribe to my channel. I also have a sister channel that I do with my coven on, I'll put the link in the description below. And I also do personal readings as well. So if this resonates with you and you feel like you want to have more information, more like one-on-one reading with me that we can look at, not just the month of July, but just in general, whatever it is that you want to talk about, you can email me, or I have my own, like, personal store listing for readings that you can buy from me. So I hope that you guys have a beautiful and blessed July. Please take heed on what these cards have said, and remember this during the month of July, so that you're able to avoid some of the drama that might come with July. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Alright, people who chose pile number 2, the Pyrite. So let's see what's in your cards right now for today, for the month of July of 2019. I have a good feeling about pile number 2, and I'm going to be pulling more cards as we go if I feel like I need some clarification. So let's look at this for a little bit. Okay, so this is interesting. I feel like this, for pile number 1 as well, this is talking about emotions. I find that July is going to be a very emotional month for a lot of people because of this eclipse. So this pile number 2, I feel like this picker card in general is just going to be about addressing your emotions. So let's just start with the Weasel. It says, be silent, pay attention, and simply observe with your eyes, ears, and physical feelings what is happening inside and all around you. So Think about it from a weasel's point of view. A weasel's naturally, I'm pretty sure a weasel's like a prey, right? Like a prey animal, not a predator. I'm pretty sure. So as a weasel, there's a lot, as like any prey animal, we're just gonna go along with the prey animal. When you're a prey animal, you always have to be kind of wary, looking around and seeing what could possibly harm you. That sounds morbid, but like, you know, this people who are like, who resonate with the weasel, that's kind of like you're looking constantly on the lookout, constantly aware of like what is happening around you, and constantly analyzing what is, like, evaluating the situation before you go forward, before you make a move. And for this, it's I'm not saying this is a bad thing for you guys, but you know, this is something that you kind of want to keep in balance. You want to, it's good to protect yourself. It's good to be aware of your surroundings, but you don't want to overanalyze things. Again, when it comes to situations, you always want to be, it's okay, okay, this is making more sense to me in my brain. It's okay to analyze your situations, but think about how you're analyzing them. Think about how you're looking at those details. When you're first looking at something as a weasel, something at first seems scary, you know, you think about, like, you know, when you want to pet a squirrel and you see a squirrel and you want to like start slowly walking up to it, or like a cat a stray cat, and you don't know them, and once you start getting close, they just take off running. And to them, they are running because they analyze the situation and they feel like they are reacting for self-preservation. They don't know you. They don't know what your intentions are. And before they like sit down and really evaluate what your intentions are, they take off running. Now to you, you're just going there to like pet them and give them a good time. Maybe you have like some nuts in your bag or whatever that you want to offer to them. So it would have been bountiful and beneficial for them to stay there and, you know, take that chance. This card, not saying that you should always do this, but for you guys in pile number 2, I feel like you kind of want to get out of your head a little bit. In the world, not of the world. You realize that this is a very powerful card. Realize that you are part of this world. Realize, there's like a quote from Oprah. I love my quotes from Oprah, by the way. But Oprah said something along the lines of, or just basically implying that we're in this together. Like, all of us as a collective, all human beings, we're all in this reality, all in this collective together. So you want to realize this and realize the filters that you're putting through when you're analyzing the situation. Think about it like this. Be like, okay, think about it from the squirrel's point of view or the cat's point of view. Why are they reacting in such a way towards you when you're walking towards them? Could it be the way that you're walking? Could it be that they have a bad past experience when it deals with a human? You know, think about it from that point of view. Realize that, like, maybe because they had a bad experience at one point with a human, they go through this filter now to avoid ever going through that again because of the self-preservation. That's a natural instinct to like save yourself. So while it is important to save yourself, realize that it's not that serious, you know, and take that chance. Be willing. Your guides are really letting me know, like, it's being very noisy actually, of asking you to just give it a chance. You know, you see this human walking up, instead of like responding the way that you always are used to responding, of just taking off and running because the last time you were with a human, they broke your heart or they betrayed you or they hurt you. Sit down and like really just see what they have to offer for this month and coming of July. This could be talking about with relationships. You know, if you were hurt in a past relationship, or like a business relationship, you know, if you were business partners at one point with somebody and then they ended up hurting you, betraying you, that may like make you put a wall up entirely of protecting yourself. You don't want to be involved in that anymore. You don't want to include anybody else in your life, in your circle anymore, because you want to preserve your mental health, your emotional health. This card right here is just like, it's okay to reserve your mental health, but realize that the people that are being brought forward to you for in the month of July, they're being brought to you for a reason. Be wary of the filter that you put on, and realize that you might be missing out on some bountiful experiences because you always decide to take flight rather than sit there and really be open to the experience. Now, this isn't obviously saying, like, if you see, I don't know, like a tiger running after you, like, you don't just stand there and wait to see if the tiger is going to attack you or not. Or, like, you see a car in the street and they're going right at you at 100 miles an hour. That doesn't mean you just stand there. You know, read, like, analyze the situation and read by their actions. You know, I told pile number one this too as well. It's just like look at people's actions rather than the words. So look at the actions. So say that squirrel took off running. Well, look at your own actions. How did you walk up to them? Was it aggressively? Was it slowly and timidly? You know, analyze. It's important to analyze these parts. So when it comes to these people coming into your life, because, you know, like, I can say that you're gonna have, like, your guides are bringing forward some people towards you for the month of July, whether it's for like a soulmate or a friendship or a relationship, any of that. You know, there's how many people in this world. You're bound to meet a lot of people in the month of July if you go out at all. You know, that doesn't mean everyone that you run into for the month of July is going to be good for you. You know, you still want to pay attention to their actions and seeing how they go about coming towards you, rather than, you know, you just kind of want to give them that chance by analyzing their behaviors first before you take flight, is essentially what they're trying to tell you. You say, let's take, let's go along with this one. You get the purity card. So I get with this is that I feel like people for number two, you guys are like you guys are kind of like people who chose file number two. You guys are kind of probably the ones that are just like, you get all the time that you feel like people call you wholesome, or people just call you, oh, they're so pure, they're not tainted. You know, that kind of vibe. And also, that's something, you know, it makes sense as to why you'd have this flight reaction. You have this prey reaction of like wanting to just take off running, because you're just a sensitive, like, wholehearted, like, pure human being, and you just don't want to be hurt anymore. You take this card, defend to the end, the worthwhile, realizing that because when you think about it like this, I feel like for people in pile number two, if you were hurt in the past, and you develop this flight risk, like this flight attitude towards life, and this flight of anytime someone tries to like connect with you, you always instantly go to like, okay, what are their motives? You know, I feel like with people number two, there's a lot of people that have like, there's a lot of reasons someone could have a motive with connecting with you, whether that is for like just pure entertainment purposes, or where you could help them in some kind of way. Maybe you're like a public figure in some type, shape, or form. Maybe you're like a leader of some kind. It's something that like they could get gain from, and it's worth protecting. You know, it is kind of important to just keep it real with yourself, and with other people. Just be like, look, I don't feel okay with you coming anymore. You know, if you're that squirrel, it's just like, they may not be comfortable with you taking any more steps closer. You know, you might be really close to them, and you just like are trying to push and be like, oh, if I could just go a couple more steps more, you know, overstepping your bounds. That's when they take off. It's important to set those boundaries and to really realize that they're worth protecting. Set those boundaries for yourself, those personal boundaries for yourself, and stand up for them. You know, this card, Knight of King of Air. Speak your mind with confidence, seek out professional advice, balance mental and emotional considerations. So this is kind of asking you to just like keep it, just if being honest with yourself and being honest with other people, because it's just like, you shouldn't ever feel shame for when you explain why you're being the way that you are. You shouldn't feel shame for having personal boundaries, And, it's not that hard. It's kind of in essence blaming the squirrel for running away when you took 2 more steps more closer to them for comfort, and being like, oh, it's your fault. Why are you acting this way? That's toxic. If someone is acting like that towards you, where you're setting boundaries and they're just not liking it, they won't respect them, realizing it, defending that to the end. Don't back down from it. If you are not comfortable with them taking any more steps closer to you, realize that's completely valid. Realize that your boundaries are completely valid. If you're not comfortable with, let's just say, like, if you're like a public figure and they're trying to be like, oh, well, let me just like make a video with you on your YouTube channel, or like, oh, let me just like make a guest appearance in your blog, or whatever whatever the case may be. If you're feeling used, or if that's part of your boundaries, where it's just like, I don't feel comfortable with including you with that in that part of my life just yet, don't feel ashamed for it. That's perfectly natural. And if they can't respect that, that just simply means that they're not respecting you, because that means that they're disregarding your own comfort, your own feelings towards the situation, and feeling like they're putting their needs and their feelings over you, when that's just not right at all. When it comes to a friendship, when it comes to any kind of relationship of any shape or form, you are having to think about the other person. Think about it when who you're friends with, who you're close friends with, or who you're in a close relationship with. You're always thinking, if you're a good friend or a good girlfriend, whatever, you're always thinking about ways that you can make them feel better. You're always thinking about ways of like how you can avoid hurting their feelings, or being aware of their mental state. And if you're dealing with people who are not being aware of that, that's when you need to just cut them loose. And cutting, like, you don't even, this is kind of like, maybe I'm a bit too dismissive, so don't take everything I say to heart and listen to it fully. But if I'm just going to use myself for an example, if I say that I'm not comfortable with you making a certain joke about me in that way, the first response should always be like, oh, I'm sorry, I did not know that. It should not be, well, why do you feel this way? Because it's not up to anybody to tell me how I should feel about a situation. So if you're not comfortable with the situation, even if they're trying to say, well, I don't take offense by it, so you shouldn't either, it doesn't matter. It's, people are affected by different things, so you shouldn't let someone else invalidate what it is that you're feeling. Essentially, you take the card with Knight of Air. The Knight of Air, it says, events that occur with great speed. Take time to carefully review your options. Creative solutions. This is kind of letting you know of, like, you don't want to try to make a friendship work, try to make things work, and, like, by, like, trying to, like, lessen your boundaries, for example, or trying to, like, changing yourself that you view to be in a negative way. That's not to confuse it with, like, if someone's like asking you to improve and grow up and mature, because change is sometimes good. But if they're asking you to be like, oh, like, you need to just loosen up a little bit, it's just like, no, you don't need to tell me how I should feel. You don't need to tell me what I should and shouldn't be offended by. What you're feeling is completely valid. Pile number 2. And just like, when you're put in these situations, really just look at it and be like, put things in perspective and just be like, look, like, you're essentially arguing with me that I'm not allowed to feel my feelings, because that's quite literally what it is. If someone's like mad at you, if you're feeling a certain type of way or being hurt by something, and they're arguing with you on that and your reasoning behind it, that's just, you're left at a standstill at that point, because, Oprah said, the number one thing that everyone tries to do when they're having a discussion or having an argument is, did you hear me? Did you see me? And did you understand what I'm trying to say? That's all that matters. So, and that's kind of the root of what everyone's trying to do. So you take the Knight of Air, and you deal with you're dealing with a situation, with a friendship, or with whoever it is, with this person, and they're not understanding you. They're still crossing these boundaries. You want to ask them those questions. Did you see me? When you think about, did you see me? Do they see why you could be uncomfortable with the situation? Because if they're not seeing that, they're not understanding that right there they're not someone that's going to be meant for long term. They're not someone that you want to keep in your close circle. Did you hear me? You know, sometimes when you're having a discussion, people just talk just to hear themselves talk, or you'll be in an argument and you're not really sitting there waiting for them to respond and reading what they say and really taking it in. You're just waiting for them to respond so you can lash out at them, or vice versa. If you're just like trying to explain your feelings, trying to have them understand, and it's like it's not coming through to them, they're not getting it, no matter how many different ways you can explain it. Again, like, just don't even bother wasting your time. And that's just, it sounds dramatic, it sounds drastic, but that's really like, it saves you a lot of drama and stress throughout your life if you go about taking these steps and realizing what these peoples are doing, and realizing like the source of like their actions. If are they actually interacting with you to try to understand, or are they trying to push their mindset onto you? Because and then put it back on them. I mean, personally, I would never even entertain arguing about what it is that I'm feeling. If someone's going to try to argue with me about being hurt, then bye. But if you are not completely comfortable with being able to speak, just dropping them, just think about it and be like, okay, how can I best like get you to understand, and give examples. I feel like examples are the best way for people to relate to you, is if you give a situation or a scenario that they can kind of like grasp onto. So then, I mean, this is really only for people who are able to have the kind of conversation. But if I'm offended by a certain word, and I tell them not to use that word, and they just don't understand it, then if I know like what word offends them, and I use it, and I use that as an example, I'm not, obviously when you're doing this, you don't want to be at it in an aggressive way. Realize that then you really want to work on your intention behind it. So let's say that like you point this out and be like, look, just like how you're not comfortable with this word being said about you, I'm not comfortable with this word being said about me. And you don't want to say this to them in front beforehand, because then they're already, if they're trying to have an argument just to be right, they're going to be like, no, that's not the case. So you kind of like, you want to mess with them in some way, and just like use the word in a non-aggressive way, depending on what the word is. Like, again, like that's just an example. And see how they react. And then the moment they react, instead of getting angry with them, be like, you can't get angry with me because you did this word, da da da. Like, two wrongs don't make it right still. You just want to go stop them before they go on their rampage or whatever, however they react, and be like, look, how you're feeling right now, that's how you make me feel when you use that word. Try to get them to understand, because some people, it may not even necessarily be about where they just don't care. They may just not get it, and they need to be shown as an example. And the best way to show them as an example is to catch them off guard, into where their bias is not coming through in that discussion. So try to find ways to get them to understand from your point of view as to like why you're setting the boundaries that you're setting. So they realize, again, like, we go through this world internalizing everything. If we take a moment and stop internalizing everything and just be like, hey, this is what's actually going on. This is why I'm setting up these boundaries. It has nothing to do with you. It just is with me. If I'm not comfortable with it, just please respect that. That's really all it is. All this reading's about, is talking about asking people to just respect your feelings. I am going to pull another card for you guys from the Angelarium deck, just because I do feel drawn to get probably like at least one more card, maybe like two more. We'll see. We'll just see what tarot decides, what you guys decide, for what message feels like it needs to be important to be relayed. Okay, we're just going to do back to the deck because I just feel that. Azrael, the Angel of Death. So, I'm gonna, again, like with how I do with Angelarium card, like I really want to stress for you guys to look at the card and just see what relates to you the most. But on first impressions, when it comes to this card, the Angel of Death, when Azrael comes through, there's a reason for it. And he's talking about death. So this could be talking about I kind of feel like this should be about like the death of like being like a doormat. Really, I feel like this is kind of like there's going to be a part of you for the month of July, because I know July is when the eclipse is happening. I feel like with this death card, I feel like this is coming up because there needs to be a part of you that is killed off. Maybe, you know, you killing off the part of where that flight, not only that flight, that feel the need to like flight, but killing off that prey mindset. Because if you're coming at the world with a prey mindset, your energy is entirely differently. You're more susceptible to predator energies, or even people who aren't really even predators. They just see that you're more timid and they try to take advantage of that. You want to really stand your ground, defend it to the end. You know, this card, this it's making more sense now. Defend what you feel towards the end, from, you know, from a very strong standing your ground energy, not like a prey energy where you're just like taking like being very timid and quiet and just not really like speaking your mind or setting your boundaries. You know, you want to be very, you want to kill all that. Make July, this really for July, this is about pushing you to embrace who you are fully and killing the parts of yourself that are developed that, like, you know, I feel like with a lot of people there's like this prey mindset happened during like childhood, how they are like, you know, because when you deal with like childhood traumas, your mind during a child, when you're a child, you're more susceptible to things. You interact, how you interact with the world is highly dependent on how you're first raised. Initially, I am of the strong belief that once you're able to identify these parts, and that's why this card comes up, once you're able to identify the parts of where you're being a prey and where you're not having a backbone, essentially, you need to get rid of those parts, because once you're able to acknowledge it, that means you have no excuse as to why this is continuing on. You're choosing to be taken advantage of at that point. You're choosing for people to not respect your boundaries. So when you set those boundaries, be strong with those boundaries. You know, don't let people feel shame you for standing your ground and having those boundaries. But yeah, before I go on too much of a tangent, that's really what I get for you guys for the month of July. Is really just about setting boundaries and really coming into your own more, having more of a backbone in more aspects of your life, and not being shamed for having that backbone. Don't feel shame for doing what it is that you do, because you have your reasons for it and they don't need to understand it. But if it's with people that you feel like, if you can tell, you know, it's kind of an individual basis. I'm not going to tell you if they don't understand it, then they shouldn't be part of your life, you know. Obviously some people are thicker headed than others, so look at the situation, see if you can get through to them and try to get them to understand. Yeah, that's really what I'm getting from you guys for the month of July, is to really just set those boundaries, set very strong boundaries for yourself, and really bring to death or kill off parts of yourself that leaves you to be susceptible to be taken advantage of. You know, the reason why, you know, you think about it, like some of those boundaries were made because you are so susceptible to being taken advantage of. And so when you when you kill off those parts that where you're taken advantage of, you might find that you don't need to have those boundaries anymore. You know, you might find that you as a squirrel, you're able to enjoy, you're in a good neighborhood, and they know not to mess with you in that way, because if they mess with you, then you're just gonna like bite back or whatever. And this obviously isn't saying condoning violence, but this is letting you know that it's just like, hey, some of your old habits that you might be doing, like, there might be because of other things. And you know, there's some things like, obviously what they did to you to make you feel this way is not in the right at all. How the mindset that you developed was understandable, but that doesn't mean you have to be a victim to it. That doesn't mean you have to stay in this prey mindset of like trying to protect everything that it is. Sometimes like there's some parts of yourself that just don't need protecting if you have that backbone. So that's really what it is. This, for pile number 2, this pile is really about asking you to have that backbone. Yeah, so that's it that I got for you guys for the month of July for pile number 2. If this resonated with you guys, please let me know in the comments. I love this. There's nothing more rewarding than connecting into people's energies and seeing like what parts of it relates to each person, because when I'm doing these cards, when I'm channeling these cards and like pulling them out, I'm like connecting, like I get a bunch of images, I get visions, you know, so it, like there's a lot of times where like a puzzle piece will be like placed and be like, oh, that's why I saw that when I was shuffling. So yeah, definitely let me know. If you like this reading, I do offer personal readings. I'll leave the link to all that in my description below if you want something, if you want to have a one-on-one with me. I also have a sister channel, Satan and Sons. I'll leave in the description below that I do. It's a YouTube channel that I do with my coven sisters, and I do some I plan on doing more picker cards there. I have one up right now. I plan on doing some more of that's going to be more for like the darker energies and stuff. But if that definitely interests you, don't have to check it out. But if that does interest you and that doesn't make you uncomfortable, then please do check it out. But I love you guys so much, and I hope I see you guys in my next video. Bye. Alright, hello everybody who chose pile number 3. Actually, it's the tiny amethyst y'all chose. I love this amethyst. When I saw it online, I had to have it. Like, it came with a pair, but I gave it to one of my friends. But yeah, it came in a pair of like 2 tiny amethysts, and I love them so much. Yeah, so let's see what's in y'all's cards. I'll pull more if I find it necessary to pull more. I know it looks like I have such few cards, but I'm able to like get a lot just from even like one card. I'll get a lot of different impressions and visions and all that. So, yeah. So, y'all have like y'all's reading is kind of a little bit all over the place, but in a good way. I don't even know where to start because it's so all over the place, but I love it. Okay, we're gonna just start with this one, the Owl card. After the Storm, number 1. With this card, this is kind of a... I feel like with people who chose pile number 3, y'all are going... I feel like for people who chose pile number 3, y'all are kind of like are going through it or about to like finished going through it recently. Whether this is mentally or just like life in general is just really just trying you right now. I feel like this is, you know, that you just went through your storm. Or if you're still going through your storm, you don't see light, you don't see that lighthouse. This is kind of, this card's letting you know, you see this bright light. Pretty sure it's a moon. I don't know what this is. You see the bright circular yellow object regardless in the card. This is kind of letting you know that there's gonna be like, this is not forever, you know. In the month of July, this is when that storm's gonna come to an end. That's when July is gonna be the month that like things finally start settling down for you. That's really what I'm getting for you guys. And from this, you look at the owl, and the owls are holding like a, I think it's a sacred geometry. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. From what I'm getting from just the tarot card itself is from the storm. You take this storm as something that you can learn something from. What can you get value out of this? The hecticness that you are dealing with, or that you just dealt with, essentially. Because like, see how it can further your own growth and development. So this way that this is not a waste. With the mouse card, I feel like this is kind of calling some of you guys who chose pile number 3 out for not coming out of this storm with your sacred geometry. With the mouse card, it says you're overlooking some important details, so pay closer attention to what's going on. So for people who are still going through their storm, and it's starting to let up, or people who just finished their storm, if you feel like you just went through a whole bunch of crap, or you're going through a whole bunch of crap for no reason whatsoever, that right there is a mistake. Because there is no situation that you can't take something from. The way to go about living life, that you'll live a much happier life, is rather than thinking that the life itself is out to get you, you think about it in the way that life is there to present you with lessons, to present you with things that will help you grow. You know, you think about it like this. If you want to be the person that, it sounds so corny and it is oversaid, but I don't think people really think about it, really internalize and think about what it is exactly that they're saying, and the meaning behind it is viewing like there's lessons in everything. When people say that they have no regrets, I mean, I feel like it's kind of a bit ridiculous, because you can look at, you can, I don't care who you are in the world, you can live your life, but there's no way that you're not gonna have a regret. You know, you can be like, oh well, these situations like made me who I am today. Yeah, you can, that's true, but let's not try to pretend like you wouldn't try to improve on some of that. That's just being foolish at that point, in my opinion, if you're not choosing to, like, I'm getting off topic, it doesn't matter. So when people say that, like, these experiences are like what made them the person that they are, that sounds nice in an interview, but how do they actually apply it to their life? I'm not saying everyone who says this doesn't do this, but even if you're just watching an interview and you hear someone say like, oh, I wouldn't change a thing about my life because the way I lived my life, the things that I went through made me who I am today. That's not wrong. That's very true. But the better way to deal with it, if you're having problems, like having that mindset, the better way to deal with it, or at least initially, is like while you're going through it, just be like, okay, what is this trying to teach me? Oprah always did this when she does this. I don't know why I'm speaking as if she's passed away. Oprah always does this, of where she's dealing with something, whether it's good or bad, and she's able to sit there and be like, really take that situation and be like, okay, what value can I get out of this? I just today I watched a video where Oprah was talking about how when she doesn't lend money to people anymore because she's lent over $1 million to people, $5,000. She told the story about how she lent $5,000 to somebody, and she viewed that, and they never paid her back, but they were buying these other things. She viewed that as her exit fee for that friendship. And she was able to realize, be like, oh, instead of responding negatively and being like, oh, why aren't you paying me back, da 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 da, really, and making yourself a victim. While it's not saying that you shouldn't feel hurt by what happened, and like your feelings aren't, and it's not me trying to say that your feelings aren't valid. You want to be like, she's viewing how Oprah viewed that situation. It's just like, okay, you showed me what kind of friend you actually are, because as a real friend, you wouldn't just take someone's money and not try to pay them back. That would be like your first priority, because by choosing to pay them back, you're showing that they care. They're showing that you care. Hello? What am I trying to say? By them paying you back, they're showing you that they care. Okay, I think that makes sense. That makes sense in my brain. I don't know why I struggled so much with saying it. Because you care about what they think, you care about what they feel. Whereas if someone gave you money that you don't really even care for them, you don't like them, like they give you that money, you don't care what they think about you. You got your money already. You're not gonna try to help them out. You're not thinking about from their point of view. You're just like, thanks for the money, peace. Like, I'm not gonna help rush to get you paid back, because quite frankly, I don't care what you think about me. And that's kind of like Oprah views it in that way. I guess that was a very long-winded way of me explaining that even during negative times that you seemingly cannot take a learning lesson out of, just be grateful that they showed who they are now rather than later. Be grateful that they showed their true colors, their true character now, rather than when everything's hitting the fan for you and you're looking for some help, you're looking for a company, you're looking for a shoulder to cry on, and that's when they aren't there. When you are at your weakest state, and when you really need somebody, that's when it'll be a lot harder to take that blow of realizing that they're not a good person. Whereas, you lost out on however much money. Oprah lost out on $5,000, $1 million, but her emotional health and her mental health was already fully there. So it's not like the realization and the impact wasn't as brutal, because she was in a good place when this happened. So be grateful that you don't have to deal with that situation anymore when it actually was needed. That was just really long-winded. For you guys, this is really exciting for you guys. There's a lot of good for you guys for the coming month of July. I'm just gonna do this one next. Follow your own rhythm. This is what does I'm just full of quotes. I love quotes. I don't know why that's been my thing recently, but when it comes to RuPaul said, always has said, dancing to the beat of his own drum. And he likes to see people who dance to the beat of their own drum. That's essentially them, these kind of people, and like the energy that you guys are trying to like let you know is when you're going on this adventure, you want to dance to the beat of your own drum. You know, follow your own rhythm. Don't try to mold yourself in to try to match. You want to make it a point to stick out. When you're going on this adventure, if you're going to France, this is France, right? I think so. Yeah, when you're going to France, like you don't want to follow an itinerary that you found on Google, because what's on the itinerary, while there may be some good stuff on there, you might not be interested in seeing the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower. You might not be interested in some of the things that whoever the person that created that itinerary is interested in. So this is kind of just asking you to own your own truth, own your own likes and dislikes, and don't feel shame about it. You know, this when you're dancing, you're like you can always tell the ones that are not comfortable with dancing or they're too in their heads because the energy is completely off. You know, they can be nailing every move possible, but if they're in their heads beating themselves up, it shows very clearly in the dance itself. You can tell that they're uncomfortable, and while they may be mechanically excelling, they're failing in like every other avenue because they're beating themselves up. So when you're dancing, you don't want to be in your head questioning like, oh, like am I gonna be looking silly when I do this? You know, is it silly for me to want to go on this adventure myself? And it's just no, like you don't want to. You know, this is a part of like this adventure opening up for people in July. I don't want this to be taken as a oh like that means I'm gonna like a random trip to the Bahamas and stuff like that. When it talks about adventure, this very easily could just be talking about going to your town's fair, going to the farmer's market. And even in like this sounds like such a pointless thing to be like to be like oh like I'm dancing to the rhythm of my own beat at the farmer's market. There's a reason. There is a good like I'm sorry, something's coming in my mind. There's very specific reasons to why you want to really work on living in your own truth, is because by living in your own truth, that's how you're going to be seen. That is how people, because I feel like for a number of people who chose pile number 3, I feel like July is definitely going to be the month for you to go out there and really express yourselves. To really, you know, you're looking for those connections. You're looking for a certain type of friendship. You're looking to find a mentor in some way or a relationship. You are only going to attract the valuable people by showing that you're dancing to your own rhythm. Because when you're dancing to your own rhythm at the farmer's market, everyone else can be like, oh, like, so there's gonna be a lot of people who are just like, oh, like, what she's like, they're dancing completely off beat to my beat. But there's gonna be someone else that sees you dancing to your own rhythm and realizes that rhythm is matching their rhythm. So I'm really getting like, there's gonna, for people who chose pile number 3, there's gonna be a large amount of you guys that are gonna be, this is usually like, this kind of energy, this is kind of coming up for people that like, new like long-term friendships, long-term like your soulmate connection or like relationships. This is like the purpose of why they're telling you to dance to your rhythm is because there's someone else out there with your rhythm, with sharing your same vibration, your same energy, and your soul family that is around you right now, and your ultimate goal right now is to be seen. So whether it is at the farmer's market, whether it's at YouTube, you know, if you feel the calling to make a YouTube channel and just like don't even have like an idea of like what do you want to do, just make a channel and be like what sounds fun to you today. Like don't take it so seriously. Just, you know, if today you're dancing to techno beat and then tomorrow it's jazz, that does like the people that are there's gonna be people that identify with that. Okay, so with the Night of Water, it's funny how you know how I mentioned that there's you want to dance to your own rhythm is because again this is kind of confirming it with Night of Water. It's quite literally tells you falling in love, or wedding proposals, the need to balance emotions, an invitation to a social event. So, people who get invited to that social event, definitely, like, this is for people. I get so I'm getting like so excited for people who chose pile number 3s. Like, definitely put yourself out there, because with this card and this card, it's quite literally telling you, like, this is like a. I really do, like, it sounds so dramatic, but I really do feel like for people in July, like, this is like these events that you're being invited to, this is gonna be like intense stuff. I feel like this is gonna be like a heavily, because it quite literally talks about marriage. I feel like this is going to heavily be on soulmates. And that doesn't mean if you're already with somebody, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be breaking off the person that you're with. Soulmate does not necessarily always mean that you're dating them. I feel like everyone has multiple soulmates. In my opinion, a soulmate is kind of like part of like your soul family. So really, like, July is going to be the month of where if you're being invited to something, take up on that invitation, even if it sounds like you would not have fun. If someone invites you to see a museum of like umbrellas, it sounds so boring and so stale, but trust me on this, you want to still go. There's a reason why. July is going to be the month for you guys that, like, doors are being opened, and what walks through, if you choose to walk through those doors, that's when you're going to be greeted with like your soulmate, or someone that you really resonate closely with. This is definitely going to be a month where you're going to have build like a very close connection with somebody. That's what I truly do feel strongly about. So, like, really work on putting yourself out there, work on getting out of your comfort zone, and still work on that adventure. Don't just do things that are just comfortable with you. Work on really putting yourself out there, and while you're putting yourself out there, just like being you. Just really embracing who you are, being you, and just like as quirky as possible, as quirky as you are, whatever it is, like, own it. And that's when, like, people are going to be more receptive towards you and of people that are meant to be in your life. Because you got to think about it in this way: if people cannot handle your weird quirks and all that, then they're not meant to be. If you have to hide certain aspects of yourself, that's not thinking long term. If you are trying to be friends with someone long term, if you're trying to be in a relationship, trying to have marriage with someone, that's the rest of, like, most people's minds would think it's the rest of your life. So why hide parts of yourself to them initially? Like, do you plan on just hiding that part of yourself for the rest of your life? This is not me telling you to I'm not trying to tell you what to do. If there are certain parts of yourself that you want to keep private to only just you yourself, then you're fully able to do that. But realize what it is that you're doing. Realize that when you go to these social events, what you're putting out there, that's what people are going to see, and that's what people are going to be receptive towards. That's how you're going to have the most genuine connections, is when you're being your most genuine self. Yeah, and it's just like there's no reason to feel silly about dancing to your own rhythm, really. Like, who I can't think of a single time where I'm like looking at someone living their best life, dancing their dance, and shaming them for it when they're having a good time. Like, no one does that. If you do that, you're just you're a rude person. Like, you're just not. For your last card, we look at Page of Earth. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, for like, y'all's reading is so all over the place with the energies, but it's just a very abundant month for you guys. This is talking about good news about financial matters, wanting to do something more challenging, a new area of study. So, when it comes to this, how this portrays with you guys is, I would honestly say that if you go to, like, let's continue on with the example of, like, the Umbrella Museum. If that Umbrella Museum, it sounds very boring at first, when you first go into it, but then when you're actually there, you actually might develop an interest for umbrellas. You might develop an interest of, like, working at that museum, or you might run into somebody at this event who's dancing to a similar rhythm as you, who can interest you in other things that you wouldn't know that you'd be interested in. You know, think about it from like the Umbrella Museum. If someone else is dancing to the same rhythm that you are and are still at the Umbrella Museum, there might be a reason as to why they're there as well. They might be able to open your eyes in a different, unique way on something that you would want to like that you didn't know that you'd be passionate about. So that's really like part of like what this card is, because obviously this is a pick a card. This is encompassing a lot more energies than just that. I'm also getting for some people a new project for people in July. This is kind of telling you, this card right here is letting you know that this new project, that this is something completely out of your comfort zone. It's gonna be successful this month. This is a good month for you guys to really make use of this energy for you guys to do that new project and put all your effort into it, because it's letting you know like hello, just so burpy. This is letting you know that it's going to be profitable. Your ideas are going to be profitable. Your project's going to be profitable. Challenge yourself. Don't just stay in your comfort zone the entire time. If you're comfortable just doing blogs and all you will do is blogs, for the next month, try doing it on YouTube. Put yourself out there. And you'll be surprised by how receptive you are. It's so easy to just write a blog and, you can be looking at your worst state and, compared to actually doing a video where you're showing yourself and you're connecting with people in a completely different way. It might not sound attractive at first and like nerve-wracking, but when you start doing it, you'll realize it's letting you know like the success you'll get from it, like the positive feedback that you'll get from it. It'll drive you to want to actually put more focus on it, that instead of having like an online blog where you only write in, you might want to, like, by doing those YouTube videos, you might turn into like a whole different vibe entirely, where you just do like a completely different, you start vlogging, you start blogging through your YouTube videos. This opens up so many different doors. So really this is about going after what it is that interests you and full speed ahead, and really be willing to embrace like the changes that come. Be willing to embrace that this might be like a different, like you might not have seen yourself, your future self, making a living off of YouTube, but instead writing books and blogs. But this right here, the month of July, is going to show you that no, you guys have something else planned for you. That's really what this reading's about. It's like this, your guides are letting you know that they have different plans for you of what they want you to be doing for the month of July. So yeah, that's what I'm getting for you guys. If anything what I said resonated with you guys, please let me know. I love hearing you guys what connects with you guys in the comments below. Like, it really does make my day, because it's just like I connect with so many different energies that it's nice to like be like, oh, like that's why I saw this vision here. Someone's just like, oh, this card connected with me and here's why. It's like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, so please let me know. If you're interested in if this did resonate with you and you're interested in having a personal reading done by me, I'll put my email down below, and I also have a store listing on my store to be taken to one of my readings that you can purchase from me one-on-one. But yeah, and I also have a sister YouTube channel called Satan and Sons. I run it with my Coven sisters, and I'll put their link down below too. For that channel, that's more so for darker energies and darker picker cards. But if that doesn't scare you off and that sounds like you're kind of alley, definitely check out that channel listed down below, because that might definitely be interesting to you. But if that does make you uncomfortable, then I don't suggest doing it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it, and I hope I do see you guys in my next video. I love you guys so much. Bye. Hello everybody, people who chose pile number 4. I'm pretty sure I ordered this off of eBay. I want to say this is like a Tibetan. Is this like a Tibetan black quartz? I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not, then I'll let y'all know. Like, I'll probably put like something here and let you know what it actually is. But I'm pretty sure this is a Tibetan black quartz. I love it because it's like, it looks like a little potion of like darkness. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, let's just get to y'all's reading, pile number 4. And let's just see what comes forward. Okay, y'all are pile number 4. Y'all are like, Okay, I think I get it. Y'all's is pretty, it's interesting how, I want to point this out real quick. You guys have 2 different owl cards that are coming through in 2 different decks. I would say to look up the animal totem for an owl and see how that resonates with you. I feel like there's definitely some people that have like the owl as this animal totem that would help, that I would suggest connecting to, meditate on that, because it's this energy, like this owl energy is very coming through. And part of it, you also want to think about how an owl is. An owl is like seeing through the darkness, seeing through people, you know, with those large eyes. It just looks like they're staring right into your soul. So this is kind of like this is all going to blend beautifully. I can't wait. So let's just start with this one. It says, be the hunter, not the hunted. This is kind of asking this, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Asking you to kind of asking you to just grow, just growing this backbone into no longer be docile. You want to be more, for the month of July, I feel like you guys are going to be really stepping out of your comfort zone and being put out on display. Like, you're going to be seen by more people. Like, be open to a lot more criticism. This doesn't mean that like what you're doing is bad, but more so like you have more eyes looking on you. And because you have so many different eyes looking on you, so many different eyes, you know, I love this with the owls. You want to be very aware of how you're presenting yourself, the energy that you're putting out there. This is, you know, with the shark, this is like, it's not telling you to be a shark, and like, but in some ways it's just like, as a shark, you look at this card and the shark itself, like, I mean, no offense to the artwork, and I love the artwork honestly, but like, you can tell the shark is kind of dopey. So just because you are a shark, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be like a killer, but it's still important to, you know, when you see a shark, when an animal sees a shark, when any of us see a shark at the beach, it doesn't matter like how many different times someone's like, all shark attacks just don't happen. You get struck by lightning more often than being attacked by a shark. Da, 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 da. That doesn't matter. I mean, to me personally, I don't go into the ocean. I don't dip my toes in the water whatsoever at a beach, because the moment, I swear to God, like, I dip my toes in the water and I instantly hear Jaws music somewhere. Like no, I don't play like that. Like, the black one is always the first one to die, and that's just how it is. Like, I'm sorry if that made some people uncomfortable, but like, no ma'am, I'm not about to be a statistic. That's not what I see in my future. But I don't mean to get off topic, but with the shark card, it's telling you, trust your instincts to discern the truth of the situation. So think about it like this. When this card is telling you to be the hunter, not the hunted, present yourself as the shark energy, so people don't feel this need to mess with you, you know, because I feel like with some people, how they present themselves, for the people who chose pile number 4, this is like heavily, like, there's a lot of people who just, I don't know. There's a lot of people who just kind of let people walk all over them in some ways, or just maybe not necessarily walk all over you, but you kind of let people get away, like slide, like you let things slide. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to call out every single person that's ever wronged you and like constantly like be at source with people who wrong you. You know, that's just like a waste of energy. But, you know, think about it like this, because, you know, if like there's constantly people messing with you, if there's people that are always trying you and you're just sitting there, it's just like, why? Like, why are people trying to like essentially just picking on me? Why are they like focusing on me? Think about how you're presenting yourself to the public. Are you presenting yourself in a weaker state, where people just like weaker people can see that and they're like jumping on that? Doesn't mean that what they're doing is right, but you know, you're just more susceptible to crappier people, in essence, is what it's trying to say. So present yourself as a shark, because the moment you look like a shark, 99% of people are not going to mess with you. So that's really what this is talking about. It's just like, this is like asking you to change. It's just like, I'm getting a lot of, for people, and for the month of July for people, I'm getting that you guys there needs to be a shift that happens for you guys. For your guys' lives to really start changing in the way that you want it to change, you need to go about, this is kind of like the perfect card for it. With this card, every journey starts with a single step. You look at this card and you see with this card, like, there's like a lot of energy being released from themselves. Release a lot of the change yourself, release a lot of this energy that like leaves you susceptible to being judged, to being attacked, to being messed with. And just start making the right moves towards your future. This is for some of the other piles, they were talking more so about like friendships, relationships, and stuff like that. I feel like with you guys are like all lined up, ready to start your race, and like the race is being delayed because of you, and you're not being, y'all might not be aware that you're the reason why the race is being held up. You might be just sitting there in position, ready to start taking off, but like nothing's happening, because you're so inside your own mind that you're not realizing what it is that you're doing that's holding you back from being able to take off. This is really like, it's asking you, it's like the journey starts with a single step, and that step is changing to be the hunter instead of the hunted. Does that make sense? I hope it's making sense to you guys. So let's just use the example of, because I did say that I feel like with some people, there's gonna be like, you're gonna be seen by more people, up for more scrutiny. You're not gonna be able to handle the scrutiny if you're trying to be successful and you're trying to be known, trying to be seen. You're not gonna be able to be seen and handle this scrutiny as being the hunted, because when you are on for display, it's kind of just like you put like a piece of like bloody meat in the middle of the water, and there's a bunch of sharks circling around it. We all know what happens. Like, you're bound to get eaten. Like, you're gonna be eaten alive, eaten alive. So it's kind of telling you, it's just like, you're gonna be surrounded by sharks. So you need to at least give the outward appearance that you're a shark as well. And, because all these other sharks, you kind of like, you think about it like this. If you're in like the public, you're around all these different sharks. But the fact of the matter is, like, just like you, all these other sharks, they're pretending to be sharks as well. Some people, and like how they interact as a shark, it kind of speaks on them and their personality. Some people, they'll see other sharks or they'll see weaker animals, they'll instantly go right at them and start attacking them. Those are the ones that are insecure about themselves. Those are the sharks, So it's important to, I don't want this to mean that like those fish, or like the weaker sharks, seemingly weaker sharks, are like any better, lesser than the shark, or greater than the shark. That doesn't matter. It's more so like outwardly appearance. If you are presenting yourself as a shark, that those insecure sharks are not going to mess with you, because they're too insecure in themselves to mess with another shark that they think is greater than them, that's more powerful than them. So yeah, this is making more sense. This is kind of like a letting go of like that prey mentality, and just start presenting yourself in a way where people just kind of stop messing with you. That's really what this is about. It's like changing yourself so people stop messing with you. And so that you're able to focus on creativity, focus on what it is that you're doing, so you're able to just focus on creating, rather than focusing on like having to deal with all these other sharks trying you constantly. Instead of being hunted constantly, you're just able to hunt and like find your own worth, finding your own good, finding your own bag, with 7, let's see. Okay, no, yeah, we're gonna start with 7 of air. We're We're going to do Seven of Air next. With Seven of Air, I would say, I mean, with this card, it quite literally says, plans that need revision, more going on that meets the eye, and poor timing. So, for people in July, this kind of goes hand in hand. Like, this is kind of a, if you feel like things are just not working out, people are trying you, and it's just like, you're not going forward, the race is not starting, and you're just so into your mind, this card is explaining to you just like, hey, get out of your mind. There's more that's going on than what you're realizing. That you're the cause of this. You know, if you want this race to go on, you're the one that needs to change, right? You're the one that needs to change, and change whether this is like changing positioning, you know, like changing parts of yourself so that the race can actually go forward. Think about it like this: if you're like competing in a shark race, and you're actually a dolphin, you're presenting yourself as a dolphin, well, that's not a shark race at that point. That's a shark and dolphin race, and they're not going to start until everyone's a shark. I know this sounds ridiculous, or that's kind of like, and that's just how it really is like, you need to go through this transition. If you're ready to be in the public eye, if you're ready for that success and to be around at the level of these sharks, you need to own that role as yourself. You need to become that shark as well, because until you do, this race is not starting, baby. Like, this card right here is letting you know. It's just like looking into yourself. Look at the self and figure out what it is that you are doing wrong. Well, not wrong, things that you need to improve on. That's really what this is about. Look at the things that you can do to improve on, because by you improving, that's going to be what causes the race to finally just start and going and get that forward movement. Okay? So yeah, this is what it's telling you to do. It's just like, really like, go back to yourself and like center yourself and be like, okay, what can I do to like change, to like help improve the outcome, to have these people stop bothering me, to stop trying to hunt me and stuff like that. While this isn't like, again, you don't like, this is trying to find ways to have people stop bothering you, to stop hunting you. This doesn't make what those sharks are doing to you, those weaker, insecure sharks doing to you, right. You know, but this is life that we're talking about. Like, this is reality. You want to, like, you want to just figure out a way to go through life in the best way possible, that where you're happy and it's not affecting and you're not harming anybody else. So, yeah, this is really just about like looking at the self and just constantly just improving on the self. And like, you know, if you want to be that millionaire, you need to act like you're that millionaire. You need to transition to become that millionaire, to become that shark as well. And don't take like, don't take the shark as something as a negative either. You know, just like there's nursing sharks, I'm pretty sure that's the name for it. Nurse sharks, nursing sharks. There's just so many different kinds of sharks that, like, you know, like, that just don't, but like, when do you hear about like how often like a shark attacks another shark? They just don't. They respect their boundaries. That's essentially what it is. Like, you're becoming one of them, so you're looking like, appearing like one of them, so that you're not being hunted by them. That doesn't mean you need to act like a negative shark, one of those insecure sharks, and attack other people. You know, that's not what this is saying at all. This is just saying, like, if you want to be with the big boys, you need to start presenting yourself as one of the big boys as well. Or else those other big boys are going to just see your insecurities, see that flaw, see that smidge in your armor, and then go for that weak point and then get rid of you. Because why would other sharks want to share the space with you if they're insecure in their own hunting ability? They don't want other competition for the same prey. Does that make sense? And then for your last card, Page of Fire. Page of Fire, news of an exciting new endeavor. Use your originality, integrity. You know, this is this goes along with the shark card when it talks about using your integrity. You can be a shark. You can appear as something threatening without actually bringing harm to anybody. Don't take I guess it's essentially what it's saying is, like, if you're being bullied at school, and this is easier. If you're being bullied at school, not necessarily I mean, obviously in some ways it works, but I'm not saying to do this, and I don't think you should do this, but like, the way to stop being bullied is if you become a bully yourself, or like, you give the outward appearance of like someone that, like, you know, you think of a bully, you think of like these people who are just stronger than the other people that are being hunted, being bullied and stuff like that. You want to present yourself in a more higher state. So naturally, without even you don't even have to deal with confrontation at that point, because the bully's just going to be looking for weaker people to pick on, to harass, rather than someone that seems fully confident in themselves and owning themselves, and just like if they look like they're gonna fight back or bark back, chances are they're not gonna mess with you. So that's kind of what it is. It's just like you can present yourself put yourself in a powerful place, put yourself on your own pedestal, but still have your integrity, still be able to be that good person that you always were. Don't take this transition, don't take this change as something that you need to change your whole entire personality. It's more so like identifying why there are parts of you that is like able to be hunted. And with this, once you are able to swim with those sharks and be around these types of people, in the month of July, I'm getting that that's when like a lot of the growth is going to really take off quickly for you guys. That's like, once you are around those sharks, like, you know, you're going to run into those other people who have like the same integrity as you and are going to be like, oh, hey, like, come over here. And like, this is where we get all of our fish. This is where we get all of our meals. And this is actually like a lot easier to do, that you wouldn't know about unless you were included in like these other sharks felt comfortable enough to talk to you. But you wouldn't have found this out if you weren't a shark yourself. Does that make sense? So by being involved in this type of group, you're able to just blend in and just learn what you're able to learn, and just really like, and just involving yourself in like the whole life itself. So it's like, this is like, overall, this is like a very good, like, this is asking you to be like, okay, what is it about you that makes you easily hunted? Is it because of insecurity of yours? You know, perhaps that you don't feel like you're worthy of being looked up to. Perhaps you feel like you're just so used to like answering to other people that you're not used to being your own boss. You know, really evaluate yourself, look into yourself. The way you can change the world is by changing yourself. That sounds so corny, but that's really how you can do it, is by changing. If you want to see something, a certain type of change in the world, change that about yourself first. Because you can't talk about, like, you know, if Martin Luther King talked about, oh, like, we should free the slaves, but then he has like his own like set of slaves himself, like, his words aren't nearly as powerful at that point. You know, it's just like, well, like, you're just being a hypocrite at that point. Just so evaluate what it is that you're doing, evaluate how you can change before you can expect other people to change as well. This is going to be something that's new for you. You're going to be on, you know, it quite says like news of an exciting new endeavor. This is new to you. So what I'm getting from this is just like, you're not used to being this shark. You're not used to being with these big boys. So this is kind of like a fake it till you make it sort of thing. And the less you have to fake it, the better off you are, because those sharks that have to go after these other sharks because they're insecure, they're the ones that are faking it and are not doing it very well. You know, so you don't want to be like them. You want to be fully confident in your ability and your power to hunt, and your own power, that you don't need to like beat down on other people. And because you're not beating down on other people, other sharks, you're going to be invited to more things. There's going to be other sharks that have that integrity that you do, they're going to feel more comfortable, more open to share with you those things, because you're not always going off attacking other sharks and stuff like that. Because insecurity is very easy to spot, especially when you're trying to when you're in a place that you feel like you don't fit in. Like, it's very for those that are meant to be there. You know, if you're in a room filled with millionaires, and then you're the only one that doesn't even make 6 figures, 5 figures, 4 figures a year, it's going to be very easy to pinpoint you out of everybody else, because just your energy and the way you go about life, the way you interact with people, is just entirely different than someone who has millions of dollars in the bank. So yeah. But that's really what I have for you guys in this reading, is just to really work on the self for the month of July. Work on embracing the role that you want to be. If you want to be an actress, a famous actress, if you want to be the best dancer, any of this, observe these other people who achieved this before you, and see how you can envelop yourself in this kind of energy to really immerse yourself and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the energy that I am also like a world-class dancer, or like I'm gonna, you know, just really about that. Study how, like, whatever path it is, find someone else that you can look up to, not necessarily look up to, but someone who's more successful than you at the same thing. Observe them and see what you can take from them and learn from them, so that you can apply it to yourself. That's really what this is about. So yeah, if this reading did resonate with you whatsoever, please let me know. I love hearing about it from you guys, because it just, like, if I'm like channeling these, like when I'm shuffling these cards and like putting them in these piles, like I always will see like a bunch of visions and stuff like that. So it's just like when someone's just like, oh yeah, this pick a card, and this card it's in specific spoke to me, and here's why. It, like, more times than often than not, like, it makes, like, it's like a puzzle piece to me, where I'm just like, oh, that's why I saw this and this and this. So yeah, like, definitely let me know in the comments, like, what it is that you guys resonate with, if it does resonate with you. And if this does, and you're interested in having a personal reading done by me, I have all my information down below in my description box that you can check out. Please be sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be doing these more often. And also, I have my sister channel, Saiyan and Sons, that I do with my Coven sisters. I'll put the link down below. This is for more like darker energies and stuff. If you're not comfortable with the darker energies, I wouldn't suggest checking out the channel. But if you are open to it, then I would definitely suggest checking it out, because I do not only some picker cards there, but we talk about a whole different, like, that channel itself is like its own unique, wonderful energy. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. I appreciate it so much, and I hope I can see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.